against two of my personally favorite coding tools. So this is going to be kind of tutorial like. I'll go ahead and create a video on how to use these types of tools more in depth after we do this, but this is going to be a fun little exercise. So with that, we're going to get started. All right, so here we have a fresh terminal window open. What I want to do is I want to test out Cursor Composer versus Droid versus factory Droid agent using Opus 4.5. And the reason I'm doing this is because over the weekend I was using these tools, and Composer is super fast, but it slipped up on a couple of areas. And this was in an existing project. So what I really want to do is see how these two perform against each other from a brand new, fresh project. So what we're going to be building today is essentially a learning platform. It's kind of similar to... the intent here is to be similar to School or Teachable. And what I ultimately want to do for myself is I want to host these, like the tutorial content that I use or that I produce on this new project or on this new site that I build. So we're going to create Next.js projects. We're going to create two of them. So the first command I'm going to run is going to be npm create next, and I'm going to use next 15. This one is going to be called Decent Brain. Let's call this one Droid. And then we're just going to hit yes on everything. Yes, 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 no. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Create next, and this is going to be Decent Brain. Decent Brain. I think Composer is a good name. Okay, cool. Would you like to use the same thing here? Biome, yes, 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 no. Okay, cool. So let's start off here, cursor. So we're going to start off with the Droid build. Now, oops, let me close that. CD, what is it? What did I name it? Decent Brain. Decent Brain Droid. Now let's open that in cursor. Okay, so here you can see we have a completely clean Next.js project. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of important files, and we'll walk through them. These are going to be the same exact files for both versions of the project, for the Droid and the Composer versions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an agents.md file and then a prompt.md file. Now I spent some time today getting these prepared, and so I'll walk you through them. They're quite large, so we won't go line by line, but you'll get the general gist of it as I walk through. Okay. So we're going to call this Decent Brain. Decent Brain. Okay. So the first project that we have, or the first file that we have, is actually this agents.md file. So what this does is it creates a file, or it creates an injection anytime you use any of these agents. You can find the documentation for agents.md here. I would highly suggest going to read this. What this does is it helps you prevent repetitive instructions when you're using an agentic coding tool, and it automatically adds all of the relevant information whenever you do a prompt, so you don't have to basically... Whenever you submit a prompt, so you don't have to rewrite these 582 or 581 lines of code. So at a high level, what we get here in the agents.md is a project overview. So this is going to be called Decent Brain. Decent Brain. So it's a premium learning platform for AI video creation courses. So what this is users are going to be able to browse our courses, watch video lessons, and track their progress. This is going to be a paid course, so it's going to be $49 a month. Users will get unlimited access to all the videos if they pay $49 a month. Very straightforward, nothing super fancy. So we're going to use Mux for our video hosting. Mux is a super developer friendly video hosting platform, and it plays well with these agentic coding tools. So our tech stack. Now you might be asking, hey, how did I get this tech stack? How did I decide on this tech stack? Well, I use this tech stack in a lot of my projects, and so I know this works super well. If you have a different tool that you want to use, let's say you want to use, instead of Next, you want to just do vanilla React. Okay, cool. You can modify this agents.md file to suit it to your preferences and your project's preferences. So I know I'm going to use TRPC for my API calls because I'm using Next. I like Prisma with Postgres for Neon, or with Neon Postgres. I like BetterAuth for authentication, and now we're going to keep it simple with email and password. Later, doesn't step over its toes. These are just your development commands. This should actually we'll update this later, but I'll show you how to do this. So here you can see the code conventions. And again, these are code conventions that I pulled in that I know work well from my other projects. And I'm just super familiar with them. Feel free to customize this to your liking. I will post the full source code of this after we complete this session, so you guys can just go in and tinker with it as you want to. So client component definitions, Mux client, whatever else is important here. So design principles, okay, super easy. Progress bar. This is just a lot of like code examples. This is really interesting because prior I was having issues with hallucinations when it comes to using TRPC. It kept defaulting to TRPC v10, and I prefer v11, which is the newest sort of TRPC that's stable. And I found that calling out how to write TRPC hooks was super important so that the agentic tool would not stumble on itself. These are environment variables. A lot of this stuff is just self-explanatory. This piece is critical here. You really want to make sure in your agents.md file that you give all of the references to documentation for the tools that you're using. Now, what's really interesting here is that I noticed it didn't carry over my stacked diffs methodology. So let me just search for stacked. Nope. Okay, cool. So this is a live example of how I noticed something and how we should update the agents.md file so that I don't have to do it in the terminal or in the chat with Droid every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this drop down here and I'm going to hit run factory Droid.